Yeah, good. So, here's my little spiel. Welcome to the presently Mood Disorder Support and Education Group. And today we have our speaker, Matt Case. Um, Matt and I are acquainted through the Pro Bono Counseling Network, which is soon to be relaunched. So we're happy to talk about that. And Matt, I am just I'm so excited that you're here to talk to us about the kind of work that you do. And for folks here, if you have questions along the way, please type them in the text box, and I'll kind of feed them to Matt while we're in this part of our program. And then later we'll stop after he finishes the main kind of talking points, and then we'll stop the recording, and then we'll have a little bit of our own freestyle. So as long as we're good with that, Matt, tell us all about what you do.
Woohoo! Well, thank you so much, Cindy, and those of you who know Cindy, and I haven't known her long, but I feel like if you know her a little while, you know her a long while. I mean, I feel like I've known you a long time. Just good energy and positivity, and she's an incredible singer. Also, I got to put a plug in. We play
Okay.
music together, so maybe some other time she can sing here. But I'm happy to be here. My name is Matt Case. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor. Excited to meet all of you. And I have an office in Carborough. And one day a week, I provide equine assisted psychotherapy at a farm west of Chapel Hill called Clearwind Farm that my wife Suzanne and I own together. And we work as a team. Most of the models of equine assisted psychotherapy have a team where there's a therapist and what we call equine specialist, someone that sort of screens the horses, knows the horse's behavior, will sort of notice more things going on with the horses while the therapist focused more on the human being. And it's really nice to have a team model there. But the farm is, for those of you who live in the area, is out near King Creek Reservoir, out 54, kind of west of Carborough. And we have a couple other therapists that work there as well, Amanda Graham and Amber Cox. So um, then there's a website you guys can check out. But I want to tell you a little bit about this modality, which is really unique. And I don't know if any of you have sort of encountered it or know much about it. And if you have, I look forward to hearing your uh, experiences and ideas on it as we go further. It's also kind of hard to talk about experiential therapies. I mean, experience, I can climb Mount Kilimanjaro and tell you what it's like, but you don't really know what it's like until you're doing it. So I'll do my best. And one of the things that's really lovely about this, I mean, if you're familiar with other experiential therapies like Santre or psychodrama or other types, art therapy, it's the doing, it's the process where the change happens and the perspectives emerge. It's not talking, tell me how you feel or tell me what happened yesterday. It's like, what's going on right here and now? Wow, look at that. Like, so so I'll do my best. And a little bit later, I'll show you some pictures that might help, some slides. So in a nutshell, what equine assisted psychotherapy is, and it's called different things by different models. It's also called equine facilitated psychotherapy, and a couple other things. It's not horseback riding. Occasionally, we will put a client on the back of a horse, but that doesn't happen very much, and that's not with a saddle or anything. Neither is it horse training, and neither is it what you might have heard as therapeutic riding, which is designed primarily or for folks with physical challenges like muscles that need to be exercised and balance needs to be practiced on the horse's back, as well as, emotional things. But that's not its primary focus. This focus is just like in Cindy's office or my office on mood disorders and depression, anxiety, anger, substances, things like that, trauma. That's what we're focused on. And it's all on the ground. And what we love about it is that the horse is unfettered. The horse can respond naturally to you if you're working in their arena. We do sometimes use lead ropes, but mostly the horses are what we call at liberty. They're free to go. And neither do we use food or sugar cubes or something to kind of, bribe or that shortcut to, like, you'll like me if I give you a sugar cube, that we all know in different circumstances. We take that as an option. We take out control. So it's you kind of there just front and center with this horse. And we'll get into the ways that can happen. There are 4 models kind of out there in a nutshell. There's one by Path, which is kind of focuses on horsemanship first, and the therapy kind of follows behind, where you'll be taught how to put a halter on the horse, how to lead a horse. And then there'll be moments along the way, like if you get frustrated leading the horse, the therapist kind of step in and maybe coach you or work with you in that moment. That's one model. There's another from the Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association, and there's a group out there named Arches, which is doing something similar, which uses a lot of metaphor, where the stories we all create in our minds get reflected out there in the arena. So a horse might come to represent a certain part of yourself, a wounded part or a joyful part, or it might represent people in your life. And as soon as we start to project, which we all do all the time, onto the horses, some very cool things can happen. It's amazing how quickly. I just did exercise the other day where I identified a horse as a son that's not near me. And as soon as I did, all these emotions came up. And it wasn't just that horse, it was my son, and my associations and feelings about him emerged. So in the second model, Egal and Arches, it's sort of a storyboard is how we think about it, these metaphors. There's another one called Natural Life-manship, which is based on sort of relationship building with a horse. They give you some skills on how to build a relationship with a horse. And along the way, as you can imagine, like any relationship, you need a certain balance of assertiveness and thoughtfulness. You need to be sensitive to what the horse's experience is, but also say, hey, this is me here, and this is something I would like, and let it known what you like. And if you can find that sweet spot in a relationship with a horse, they tend to clue right in. If you're too dominant, they'll be like, yeah, leave me alone. If you're too kind of timid, they'll be like, who's here? But if you can kind of show up with that sweet spot, they're like, oh, okay, I see you. You see me. Let's see what can happen here. They tend to respond more. They tend to be drawn into connecting more. And then the fourth model, sometimes it happens, clients come out and there's just the crisis going on and they just need to talk about it. So we talk about it as like therapy over the horse's back. It might be sort of grooming, but we're doing talk therapy basically in that moment. And that happens as well. Well, why horses? I'm not sure if any of you have any experiences with horses. You probably have experience with dogs and other animals, and you get that there's something about being with animals that just feels often less threatening and intimidating and more comforting for a lot of us. I don't want to assume for everybody. But unlike a dog, horses are prey animals. They are wired like a deer or a rabbit to be on the lookout for danger. Can I trust you? Is this safe? Is sort of the lens through which they operate and are very sensitive. But unlike a deer or a rabbit, they are curious and used to human beings. And again, all horses have different personalities. Some horses are less inclined to hang out with a human than others. Some would just want to climb in your pocket and go home with you. So they are drawn to humans. There's sort of a social dynamic that they have that not all other prey animals have. But they also come to you with this sort of, are you safe or not? Can I trust you? Which is where a lot of their, it's almost like biofeedback. Like if you can get in a sort of a place that they perceive as safe, you'll get the feedback. And often from a therapeutic point of view, that spot is what you might call being mentally well. If you can be present, if you can be aware of what's going on inside of you and aware of what's going on outside of you, and willing and interested in connecting, horses tend to reinforce those things. And that's, as therapists, is what we're really trying to help everyone do. That's what I'm trying to do with my own life, my own head, my own heart, be mindful of the stuff that shows up that kind of trips me up. I got it right now. We have it all the time. Like, are they judging me? Am I talking too long? Well, we have this going on all the time, right? So to be kind of aware of that and also aware of the other and be here now and remember what's important to you. So anyhow, when you're in that sweet spot, horses are all about it. And so they, what we call, reinforce that. So as a clinician, I just love seeing that. And my goal is basically to try and set up scenarios where the horse can do that work with the client, so I can get out of the way basically and such. So I've started to go into a little bit, I use a model called acceptance and commitment therapy, which is kind of, I just reflected in what I just said. And I blend acceptance and commitment therapy with the horses. And in a nutshell, the three main processes we're trying to encourage in clients, and I'm trying to work on in my own life, is learning how to be centered and present here and now. Learning how to notice the stuff that shows up that I get tangled with, that I'm not good enough, and all that stuff, and the memories, and learning how to not struggle or pretend that I don't have it, try and push it away and go watch Netflix and eat ice cream or do other such things to try and get away from it all the time. Although sometimes a little bit of that's not bad. But if that's my go-to and I'm always avoiding that stuff, that can be problematic. And also becomes more of a problem than this feeling in the first place. So I can be present and centered. I can notice the hard stuff and kind of learn how to coexist with it instead of running away from it. And then remember what's important to me. What kind of life do I want to lead? What do I want to stand for in life? What kind of relationships do I want to build? So those are the three things in acceptance and commitment therapy. And as I said, these horses tend to reinforce those things. If you're in that space, they're all about it. If you're pretending you're, I'm not anxious, like they can read that and they won't give you the time of day. They're like, yeah, you're not who you say you are. There's a lack of congruence between your outer and your inner worlds. I can't trust that, so I'm not listening to you. But if you can get more honest with yourself and you can get here and now, they are more likely, no guarantee, all horses have their moments. If they're eating hay, they probably won't give you the time of day. If there's a gunshot in the neighboring, lot, they probably will be distracted, but by and large. So that's in it. And then Cindy, I was thinking about showing a couple slides and maybe just talking a little bit, giving some examples to help but tell me if I'm going on too long or
Oh no,
whatnot.
no, please bring it. I mean,
Bring it,
so
baby.
cool. It's
All right.
cool. Yeah, the share screen at the bottom.
All right, let me get what I want to share up first. There we go. And then I'm going to go, where is my share screen? There it is. Well, it says that you've disabled
I did not mean to disable.
it.
Let
You
me
cut me out, man.
co-host. Yes, I don't know why that happened. No, you have full.
There we go. All right. Share. All right, can y'all see that?
Yeah, wow.
Okay. So this is a slideshow we presented at a conference. And I'll just go show you some pictures. That's our daughter actually there with a horse that was curious what was going on for her, so I can't see what you see exactly. Do you see the side thing too? I guess that's
That's
okay.
okay.
So this is just to give you a sense of what it looks like, unfettered as a human being, and there's a horse, and he is going to evaluate this person or you based on what you bring in the room, in the arena. You don't have sugar cubes, you're not using equipment, he gets to respond as he or she is inclined. I'll show you some of these pictures. That does happen, that sort of touchy-feely, warm, fuzzy moment we all want with animals. I think it's a little bit disappointing to some folks because it doesn't always happen. And really the best work happens through the harder moments, like when you go up to a horse and the horse turns away and that feeling of rejection or abandonment or whatever that might be shows up. And so let me lean in there a little bit. So the way I work, and every clinician is different, I would work, if that happens and the client's like, oh, that hurts, we sort of help them lean into that feeling, notice it, make space for it, sort of coaching in the moment instead of talking about what they want to do the next day with their family member. iPhone enters the waiting room. Oh, I guess I have to admit someone. Okay. In the moment, we're giving some coaching. This is an example of sometimes the horse will get too close to clients. As I said earlier, you need that balance of assertiveness and kind of thoughtfulness. What's cool, again, I can coach this person here, and not only sort of what hand gestures to use, but also the energy, how to conjure up that energy within yourself. We all have people in our life that kind of get in our space a little bit more than we want them to. And if you scream and yell, if you chase them, get away, you'll lose the relationship. The horse will run away and the human might run away. But if you can find a way to be assertive, like from the inside out, and in this case, this person raised their hands and the horse backed up, but it's still in a relationship. So this is an example of the kind of exercises we can do. Like someone who has trouble with being assertive, for example, this would be a great exercise for them. We also do some present moment awareness kind of exercises, mindfulness, breathing, things like that. Horses, their brains are wired differently. In fact, they don't have the prefrontal cortex, the neocortex that carries all the languaging that we do. They have the limbic system, which is kind of like the feeling system, as you all probably know, and the brain stem. And so they are in the present moment. They don't have the language brain that worries about what's going to happen tomorrow or regrets what they did yesterday. They're just here and now. So they're great models for how to be present. And when you think about mood and depression, and a lot of it is because we're not here now. I wouldn't say a lot of it is because. I would say ruminating in the past and worrying about the future tends to aggravate our moods in the present. Let's see if I can just do this. Just to try and help give you a feel, you're out there with the horses. So we might be observing this with folks and asking them to make up a story. What do you see there? It's like, you might notice your own mind. What story is your own mind making up here about the relationships out there? And so you all can't talk. So I can say you may be, oh, these two are siblings and these two hurt them the other day or whatever, or they're a married couple. Like we project all this stuff out, and we don't know. It's kind of like a blank slate, sort of. You can project stuff, and then what comes out is usually clinically relevant. That horse feels hurt, huh? You ever feel like that sometimes in your life? Oh yeah, yesterday when Tommy wouldn't share me the ball, and it's another access way to get in there. Especially, I'm using an example of kids. Kids often don't like to talk about their feelings in an office with, strange adults. Not that we're strange, Cindy, but we don't know them. But talking about a story outside of them is a great pathway to start to talk about and unpack some of the stuff that's going on in their life. To show you some different pictures, we have some activities which are more sort of structured. Let me just show you this last one. So in this example, we will ask the client, here played by Jenny, to take a thought that they get tangled up with. In this case, we had the thought, I am never enough. Thought we probably all are familiar with, but you might have a different version, different words. We write it on a card, and then she would ask permission from the horse first. Would you be willing to carry this thought of mine during the rest of this session? We had one client who said, he doesn't want to carry it for me. And we said, oh, that's okay. Well, you can carry it then. And he's like, oh, no, I don't want to carry it. He can carry it. So we were sort of getting these thoughts again out from inside and kind of getting them out, externalizing, which happens in lots of ways in therapy. And in this case, we're putting on the horse. And I don't know what shows up for you as you look at this picture. But a lot of folks, when they do this wave of compassion shows up. you know, they see this thought on this horse, this beautiful being, and they're like, oh, no, that's not right. But then they go, wait a minute, that's my thought. That thought's in me. And then it starts to open up this idea of self-compassion. You know, if I can be compassionate for the horse with this thought, can I be compassionate for myself? And everyone's different. I'm sort of summing up some of the things we've seen. So in this exercise, again, this is the ACT model. We have in the distance here her value, which is connection, that she's headed for. Here is a certain behavior she wants to do in line with her values. Talk to John, might be her husband or brother or someone, her boss. Something she's been avoiding that's hard to do. Why is she being avoiding it? Because this feeling I'm never enough shows up. And when we're coaching her is how can you bring that feeling along with you? Because you can't get rid of it as much as we like, at least for not very long. As soon as my ice cream bowl's empty, then it comes back, you know? And so we're coaching her to bring. Now, what's cool is the horse will pick up on her energy as she walks up to this action that she wants to do. We call it valued action. And if she gets tight, he'll pick up on it. And he usually doesn't want to go over. And so we'll give her a little coaching. Do you notice what's showing up for you or what's showing up for the horse? It's like, yeah, he doesn't want to go. He's anxious. Like, okay, which is this in your body? Oh, yeah, I'm tight. Can you make room for it? Can you relax your shoulders? Can you breathe? You know, coaching the person. And sure enough, when the person tends to relax and be open, the horse tends to move. And that's what's the brilliant thing. When we can be relaxed and be open with ourselves, not relaxed like, oh, I'm on the beach, not worrying or thinking about anything that troubles me, but relaxed and open, maybe relaxed isn't the right word, open and willing to have difficult feelings, the I'm not good enough feelings, and relax with it. The horse is relaxed too, and we get movement forward. That's a nice little picture. And they say, you know, I was talking about, the last thing I'll say, you know, about horses, and I gave you some reasons why they're really therapeutically beneficial. There's also this other thing, there's this mystical quality about that a lot of people experience with horses. I mean, in our literature, in the movies, in ancient mythologies, the horse has always been there, as have other animals. I don't want to diss other animals. But I think part of the allure and the power is, as someone said, they've got two hooves in this world and they got two hooves in the other world. So that's what I would do. And this is my lovely wife, Suzanne. And this is our website, Clearwind Farm. And I will stop sharing my screen. I think I go there. And I think that's, I could say more, Cindy, but I'll just leave it there and you can guide, or if there are questions, we can.
Yeah, this would be a time, you know, if we can just go a little further. If you all have questions, type them in the chat. I have a question about when you would not want to use horse therapy, right? So when to use it, when not. Like what is
Mm-hmm.
some of the times when you think that would
Yeah.
not be a good idea?
Well, I think, well, first, as the clinician, if I am not comfortable with a certain presentation or diagnosis, even if horse therapy would be good for this person, I shouldn't be doing it. So that's the first thing. Your eyes are wide. What does that mean, Cindy?
I think that that's a surprising answer to me. Like that you would be so
Really?
aware of yourself that you would be thinking along those lines. That right? What?
Yeah. No, I think it's important. You know, if like someone was mentioning substance abuse, I don't have any experience with that, and I'm not the person to go to. Even if horse therapy per se would be, um, you know, there's certain presentations and certain, you know, situations, I'll say. Other than that, there's it's a pretty trans-diagnostic kind of tool. I think we kind of screen out if anyone has a history of being violent to animals. You know, there's some folks that would work with them because they trust the horses will defend themselves. we are sort of, we're not in that that school of thought. We're like, yeah, let's just not have violence with the horses or the humans because someone's going to get hurt and we don't want that. Some folks who are super hyperactive ADHD, youngsters who are just like we've worked with folks with ADHD, but if they're not paying attention, and which they don't, often they could get hurt. Those are the ones that we keep an eye out for. I can say on the other hand that the folks that tend, the presentation situations that we tend to see folks get the most benefit, relationship issues, attachment kind of issues, trauma, families. If we can get a family out with horses, a lot of times in office, families will present a certain way. Often, oh, we don't have problems, look how good we are, or look how awful we are, we don't have anything good. When you get them out with horses, we see their true colors come out, both the ugly stuff they don't want us to see, but also some really cool cooperative behaviors that they may have overlooked.
Wow.
So that's really neat to see because they're focusing on this huge animal and not worrying about us. There was one other population I was gonna say. Oh, yeah, no, I lost my train of thought there.
Well, so for example, like you're talking about using a particular theory, like the ACT theory. Often people aren't looking so much at theory as more about symptom relief. So, like they might say they have anxiety. So
Mm.
they come to you. I have anxiety, or my loved one has anxiety. How can you help us? What is some of the way that you would break that down, or that the horses might help them?
Hmm. No, that's a great question. I mean, again, the model I work with, it would be like, well, what is the anxiety getting in the way of? Like, if anxiety weren't a problem, what would you be able to do? Like, well, I'd be able to have a relationship with this person that was uh, filled with support and love and connection. Okay, well, that's why we're here. That's our focus, not getting rid of the symptoms of
Nice.
anxiety. That's what we're doing here. And okay, then how does your anxiety show up? What does it look like? Sort of get to know how it shows up in your body, your thoughts, and your feelings, so we can kind of label it. And then when they're working with the horse, we have something to work on. So if they go out to the pasture and they stop and either they turn to us or they appear very anxious, in the moment we can kind of coach them in some of this mindfulness and breathing techniques, whatever works for them. I mean, some people love the mindfulness stuff, some people like, get that out of here, just okay, well, maybe just, can you notice the sounds? Can you count how many sounds you hear, which is another way to get grounded. Oh, the birds, the horses chewing, things like that. And then remember why you're here. Like, what do you want from this horse or this relationship? Yeah, I really want to connect with this horse. Okay, well, let's focus on that and let's bring your anxiety. So that might be one kind of example of one way we might address that.
I love that. Can you say the same thing for depression? Can you play depression that way a little bit, just to hear how you think about it?
Yeah.
Depression.
Um, well, and I don't know, in my experience, they often come hand in hand. I mean, depression and anxiety. I mean, and if it's not one, it's if you have more anxiety, you're usually depressed about your anxiety. You have more depression, you're more anxious about your depression. They all kind of play off each other. But yeah, no, depression for sure. And that's where I think this um, see, it's interesting because what I love about this work is it's I've referred to certain activities we do, but they're all invitations. And we really work with the client and we see what happens with the horse and follow that lead. I'd rather follow the client's lead or the horse's lead than what I think they need. Um, so I'm trying to think of there was a client here who was we had not long ago, was primarily depression was what their struggle was. And I think we had a hard time getting them going. They were very, resistance, not the word, they were like reluctant, I think would be the word. And then the horse came over and kind of took initiative with the horse and kind of presented himself. And as soon as that happened, the client, you could see a little light up, like, oh, the horse likes me, kind of a feeling. And then that drew the client out there. And there was just a moment, the moment I'm thinking about, there's sort of a moment of connection um, that was, again, you can't put words on, um, but maybe you guys can imagine. I go back to that picture in the snow there. That just really speaks and opens up the doors for possibility and hope. You know, if I can have this moment, and we might lean on it, how is that? That was awesome, cool. Is that what you want more of in your life? Yeah. Okay, let's make our work about that. You know, what's in the way of that? Well, I don't have energy to get out of bed. Okay, well, if you remembered this moment, let's take a picture of you and the horse. You can take it back with you as a reminder, um, for example, or just the horse to help with that.
Like you see me, I'm like so moved by that idea. That is so. So another more practical question: do you take insurance? How does that work for people to access this resource? What does it look like?
Yeah, yeah, no, we do. I mean, we're in network with certain providers. Um, it is, I mean, we have two professionals and the horse or horses, and because of confidentiality, we kind of shut down the rest of the barn while clients are out there working. Um, so it is, it takes a lot to provide this service, and it's not a very cost-effective way to do it. And insurance pays me the same rate they would pay me if I were in office with someone. Um, but we just really believe in providing service that is accessible to everyone um, as much as we can. So we do that.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
there's a question.
Yeah, if you guys have a question, if you can type it, or let's do it this way. I see you, Miss Ma'am. I see you. Let me go ahead and close for the purposes of the recording. I'm going to close and thank you. If yeah, and then we'll have a little chat amongst ourselves. Okay. So say bye bye, Matt, for this part.
Bye, everyone.
But no, but don't leave, everybody. Just bye bye.